Imagine a world where borders don't exist, and the law is merely an illusion, where criminals earn millions and their influence reaches the most powerful people in the state. In today's episode, I'm taking you on a journey through 4 countries united by one thing: brutal, ruthless underworlds. Russia and the dangerous Bratva, whose tentacles stretch across all of Europe. Bulgaria, where syndicates from the communist era never disappeared. Norway, where the seemingly peaceful streets of Oslo hide a dirty drug trade. And finally, Ukraine, a war-torn country that has become the perfect breeding ground for the mafia. These are not made-up stories. Everything you'll hear comes from verified sources. Without further ado, let's dive into a world where one misstep can cost you your life. Let's begin. Russia, a global criminal empire. The Russian mafia, known as Bratva, is not only one of the most powerful criminal organizations in the world, but also a true colossus whose influence reaches every corner of Europe. Its roots trace back to the Soviet Union, when a subculture of vori v zakone, thieves-in-law, prison bosses who built their hierarchies based on violence and loyalty, was born in the gulags. After the collapse of the USSR in 1991, economic chaos, privatization, and weak state institutions created ideal conditions for the mafia's rise. According to a 2013 Europol report, Russian criminal groups operate in speculating in over 60 countries, generating annual profits estimated at $50 to $100 billion. The largest and most organized group is the Solntsevskaya Bratva, named after Moscow's Solntsevo district. According to the book Mafia, Solntsevskaya has thousands of members and controls key drug trafficking routes from Central Asia to Europe. Heroin from Afghanistan, cocaine from Colombia, and synthetic drugs like fentanyl flow through Russia to ports in Rotterdam, Hamburg, Antwerp, and Gdansk. In 2018, Spanish police dismantled a Solntsevskaya cell in Marbella, seizing 23 tons of hashish, 12 million euros in cash, and luxury cars, confirming their dominance on the Costa del Sol. The Bratva's structure resembles an international corporation. At the top are the vori v zakone, the bosses who make strategic decisions. Below them are brigadiers overseeing regional operations and soldiers responsible for smuggling, executions, or extortion. In his book The Vori, Mark Galeotti describes how the Bratva excels at infiltrating political and business elites. In Europe, Russian gangs launder money by investing in luxury real estate. A 2017 Transparency International report revealed that groups linked to the Russian mafia purchased properties worth over £1.5 billion in London, often through offshore companies. In Spain, Russian gangs have invested billions of euros in hotels, clubs, and apartment complexes on the Costa Blanca. Cybercrime is another pillar of the Bratva's empire. Hacking groups like Revel and Evil Corp operate under their umbrella, carrying out attacks on companies and institutions. In May 2021, Revel attacked JBS, the world's largest meat producer, demanding an $11 million ransom. Meanwhile, Evil Corp, according to the FBI, has stolen over $100 million from banks in 40 countries. Profits from cyber attacks are laundered through cryptocurrencies and invested in legitimate businesses like nightclubs or transport companies. The Bratva collaborates with other criminal groups, forming global networks. In 2019, Italian police in Milan arrested members of Solntsevskaya and 'Ndrangheta, seizing 500 kilograms of cocaine hidden in banana containers. Russian gangs also operate in Poland, engaging in smuggling cigarettes, alcohol, and amber from Belarus and Ukraine. A 2020 Polish police report indicates that Russian groups collaborate with local gangs in fuel trade and stolen car trafficking. The Russian mafia also has a unique cultural code. Tattoos play a key role in their hierarchy. Stars on the shoulders signify the rank of a vor, while church domes on the back symbolize the number of prison sentences served. Stuart Alexander, in his book Russian Criminal Tattoo Encyclopedia, explains that wearing tattoos without authorization is punishable by death in prisons. In Europe, the Bratva operates discreetly, avoiding publicity. In Germany, they control casinos and escort agencies. In Austria, they invest in the banking sector. And in the UK, they infiltrate the betting market. Their adaptability is remarkable. During the COVID-19 pandemic, Russian gangs began trading fake tests and masks, generating millions of euros in profits. The Bratva is not just a criminal organization, but a social phenomenon that combines brutal force with sophisticated strategy, making it one of the greatest challenges for law enforcement worldwide. Bulgaria, SIC and the brutal legacy of the Balkans. Bulgaria, situated at the crossroads of Europe and Asia, has always been a strategic point on the map of organized crime. After the fall of communism in 1989, the country plunged into economic and political chaos. Weak institutions, mass unemployment, and corruption created ideal conditions for the rise of organized crime. During this period, the Central Insurance Company, SIC, was founded in 1993 by former athletes, wrestlers, boxers, and ex-security and military personnel. SIC initially operated as a security firm, offering insurance to local businesses, which in practice meant extortion. In a short time, SIC became synonymous with the brutal domination of Bulgaria's underworld. According to a 2005 UN report, in the 1990s, SIC controlled about 80% of illegal activities in Bulgaria, including stolen car trafficking, prostitution, gambling, and extortion. The group was organized like a corporation with a clear hierarchy. Leaders at the top, followed by regional branches in Sofia, Varna, Plovdiv, and Burgas. SIC not only eliminated competition, but also built influence in legitimate businesses, taking over hotels, casinos, nightclubs, and transport companies. Their power relied on brutality and connections with former security officials, which ensured protection from the police. The years between 1995 and 2005 in Bulgaria are known as the Bloody Decades. During this period, over 150 contract killings shocked the country. Victims included not only members of rival groups, but also prominent businessmen and politicians. One of the most high-profile cases was the murder of Ilya Pavlov, head of the rival multigroup, who was shot in March 2003 outside his office in Sofia. Another example is the assassination of Vasil Ilyev, leader of VIS, who died in 2005 from a bomb explosion. These killings not only eliminated rivals, but also built the myth of SIC's power. Like the Russian mafia, brutality was their hallmark. The group used public executions, torture, and kidnappings to intimidate opponents and the local community. In one documented case in 1998, SIC members set fire to a nightclub in Varna, owned by a rival group, causing several deaths. Such acts of violence were meant to show that no one could challenge them. Bulgaria lies on the so-called Balkan route, a key drug smuggling path from the Middle East and Turkey to Western Europe. Heroin from Afghanistan, opium from Iran, and marijuana from Albania flow through Bulgarian borders to Germany, the Netherlands, and Scandinavia. Gangs, successors to SIC, have specialized in the logistics of this trade. In June 2022, Bulgarian police shut down one of Europe's largest methamphetamine labs near Plovdiv, capable of producing 500 kilograms of the drug monthly, with seized substances valued at 20 million euros. Bulgarian gangs also export marijuana and synthetic drugs like ecstasy to high-demand countries like Norway and Sweden. In 2021, Dutch police intercepted a shipment of 300 kilograms of drugs from Bulgaria hidden in a vegetable truck. Gangs rely on an extensive network of smugglers, including truck drivers and corrupt customs officers, to avoid detection. According to Europol, Bulgarian groups collaborate with the Russian Bratva in arms trafficking and with Albanian and Serbian gangs in drug and human smuggling. A unique phenomenon in Bulgarian crime is export pickpockets. Young people, often from impoverished Roma communities, are trained in Bulgaria for pickpocketing and sent to wealthy countries like France, the UK, Germany, or Italy. A 2019 Europol report estimates these networks generate about 200 million euros annually. Children and teenagers are recruited and taught techniques like distraction or group work. When caught, they often avoid punishment due to their young age, making this crime particularly difficult to combat. Bulgarian gangs are also active in other areas of international crime. In 2020, French police dismantled a human trafficking network run by a Bulgarian group that forced women into prostitution in Paris. Gangs also engage in smuggling stolen cars to Turkey and the Middle East and trading counterfeit goods like clothing and electronics. Despite efforts by Bulgarian police and international organizations like Europol, fighting organized crime in Bulgaria faces significant obstacles. Corruption in the police, judiciary, and administration remains widespread. In 2018, Transparency International identified Bulgaria as one of the most corrupt EU countries. Many crime bosses avoid punishment due to ties with politicians and officials. Even after the deaths of SIC leaders, new groups like VIS and Levins have taken over, continuing operations more discreetly. Bulgaria's underworld has evolved, adapting to changing realities. Modern gangs invest profits in legitimate businesses like real estate and tourism, making them harder to track. At the same time, they remain brutal and effective, keeping Bulgaria a key player on the map of European crime. Norway, drugs in the shadow of a Scandinavian paradise. Norway, a country associated with fjords, the northern lights, and a high standard of living, is grappling with a growing problem of drug gangs. In Oslo, particularly in the Grenland, Tøyen, and Holmlia districts, groups control street-level trade in cocaine, marijuana, and amphetamines. Norway's underworld began to develop in the 1980s with the influx of immigrants and rising drug consumption, creating a new market. In 2023, police recorded 20 shootings in the capital, a record that shocked society. Key players include motorcycle gangs like Hells Angels and Bandidos, active in Norway since the 1990s. They distribute ecstasy and amphetamines imported from the Netherlands and Denmark. In 1997, a motorcycle war erupted in Drammen when Hells Angels and Bandidos fought for control using grenades and rifles. While such conflicts are now rarer, motorcycle gangs remain active, controlling nightclubs and security agencies. Alongside them, ethnic gangs like Young Bloods and Furset Bad Boys, primarily composed of Somali, Pakistani, and Iraqi youth, deal in marijuana and hashish, recruiting from poor neighborhoods. High drug prices, a gram of cocaine in Oslo costs €100, twice as much as in Berlin, attract international networks. Albanian and Lithuanian gangs smuggle drugs through Sweden using Norwegian ports. Norwegian gangs launder money through barber shops, kebab shops, and betting agencies, making them hard to trace. Despite harsh penalties, drug trafficking in Norway can carry up to 21 years in prison. The problem is growing. In 2021, Norwegian police seized over a ton of cocaine in Oslo's port, a record haul. Gangs use social media for recruitment and sales, and their young, often underage members are becoming increasingly violent. Norway, though seemingly a peaceful oasis, struggles with an underworld thriving in the shadow of prosperity. Ukraine, smuggling and chaos in the shadow of war. Ukraine, since the annexation of Crimea in 2014 and Russia's full-scale invasion in 2022, has become the epicenter of organized crime in Europe. The war has weakened state institutions, disrupted police structures, and created chaos in which gangs have found ideal conditions to thrive. Cities like Odessa, Kiev, Kharkiv, and Dnipro have become hubs for illegal operations, including drug, arms, and human trafficking, as well as cybercrime. The war fuels the black market, and the influx of Western military aid, including rifles, grenade launchers, and drones, has created a lucrative new sector for gangs. Odessa, dubbed the gateway to the Black Sea, is a key transit point for drugs to Europe. Gangs controlling the port engage in smuggling cocaine, heroin, and synthetic drugs like fentanyl. In July 2022, Ukrainian customs officials seized 200 kilograms of cocaine hidden in coffee containers, worth €50 million on the black market. According to Interpol, Odessa gangs collaborate with Turkish and Georgian mafias, creating smuggling routes through the Black Sea to Romania, Bulgaria, and further into Western Europe. The war has not stopped this trade. On the contrary, weakened controls have facilitated smuggling. Gangs exploit corrupt officials and port chaos to move goods. In 2023, Europol reported that Ukrainian gangs began smuggling methamphetamine produced in Dnipro to Poland and Russia, where demand is rising. The influx of Western military equipment into Ukraine has created an unprecedented black market for weapons. Rifles, grenade launchers, ammunition, and even drones fall into gang hands, which sell them to international buyers. In 2023, Interpol warned that weapons from Ukraine are appearing in conflicts in Africa, e.g. Mali, and the Middle East, e.g. Syria. In Odessa, an informal arms exchange operates where a Kalashnikov rifle can be bought for $500 and a grenade launcher for $2,000. In 2022, Italian police seized military drones from Ukraine in the port of Trieste, intended for the Albanian mafia. Ukrainian gangs sell weapons not only to Balkan groups, but also to the Russian Bratva, despite the ongoing war. This paradox stems from the pragmatism of criminals, for whom profit outweighs politics. A 2023 UN report estimates that the black market for weapons from Ukraine generates billions of dollars annually, posing a threat to European security for decades. The war has forced over 8 million Ukrainians to flee, creating immense opportunities for gangs involved in human trafficking. Women and children are particularly vulnerable. Gangs recruit refugees, promising jobs or safe passage, then force them into prostitution or slave labor. A 2023 UNHCR report estimates that around 50,000 people have fallen victim to such networks since the invasion began. In Kyiv and Lviv, groups specialize in smuggling migrants to Poland, Germany, and the Czech Republic, charging 3,000 to 5,000 euros per person. Gangs use fake charities as covers, allowing them to operate under the authorities' noses. In 2022, Polish border guards dismantled a smuggling ring that transported over 1,000 people from Ukraine to Germany, forcing many into illegal factories. Ukraine has long been a breeding ground for cybercrime, and the war has only intensified this trend. Hacking groups like Conti, Sandworm, and Revel, linked to gangs, conduct ransomware attacks, data theft, and digital sabotage. In May 2021, Conti targeted hospitals in Ireland, demanding a $20 million ransom. In 2017, Sandworm paralyzed Ukraine's power grids with the NotPetya virus, causing global losses estimated at $10 billion. Ukrainian hackers collaborate with Russian groups, showing that political borders are irrelevant in cybercrime. The war has increased demand for hacking services. Gangs offer attacks on Russian institutions, but also target Western companies supporting Ukraine. Ukraine's underworld is decentralized, with no single dominant organization. Individual cities are controlled by local bosses overseeing their own groups. In Odessa, gangs focus on port smuggling. In Kharkiv, on counterfeit drugs and fake COVID-19 vaccines. And in Dnipro, on methamphetamine production. This lack of a central structure makes Ukrainian gangs flexible and hard to dismantle. They collaborate internationally, forming networks with the Russian Bratva, Turkish mafias, and Balkan groups. In 2021, German police arrested members of a Ukrainian group in Berlin, dealing in stolen cars from Poland and Lithuania. Ukrainian gangs are also active in Poland, engaging in smuggling cigarettes, alcohol, amber, and drug trafficking. The war has weakened Ukraine's police and services, which focus on fighting Russia rather than organized crime. Corruption among officials and customs officers further enables gang operations. In 2022, Ukrainian authorities arrested several high-ranking Odessa port officials for taking bribes from smugglers, but such actions are rare, and many bosses remain untouchable due to ties with local elites. Ukraine's underworld is one of the most dynamic in Europe, fueled by wartime chaos and access to resources like weapons and refugees. Their international connections and ability to infiltrate legitimate sectors make them a formidable opponent for law enforcement. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to check out the 2 previous episodes in the Gangs of Europe series on my channel, where we discuss groups from the Netherlands, Germany, England, Sweden, France, Italy, the Balkans, and Spain. Also, let me know in the comments which country we should cover in the next episode.